What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, where we're going to teach you how to wage war on your competition and earn your local crown, also known as the top spot on Google.
What is up, Local Crown entrepreneurs? I am your host, Antonia Hanlon, and today I have with me Mike Morse, who has done just incredible things as far as starting his own law firm and writing a book, and we're going to talk to him all about that today. So I'm going to hand it over. Tell us about how you got here, where you're from, what you've been doing, and everything you've been moving forward with today.
Oh, just a little softball of a question to start there. I appreciate it. Well, I am a true entrepreneurial, hard to say, attorney. I've been interested in starting and creating businesses since I was a little kid, and I did it with my law firm, and now it's completely being run in an entrepreneurial way. We wrote a book about that journey, how basically I decided one day to turn my law firm into a business, and we went from 20 employees to 170 employees, went from $17 million in settlements and verdicts to $160 million in settlements and verdicts, just from treating our business like a business and not like a traditional law firm. So now we're the biggest firm in Michigan who handles these types of injury cases. And I spend my time lecturing around the country, talking about the book. We have some private coaching clients that we do. We're shooting a master class right now, which is another entrepreneurial thing that we're doing. And we have not only law firms, but other businesses who consult with us and want us to teach them how to hire and fire the right way, how to set great core values and a vision and know their numbers and everything in between. So that's what we're doing. That's it's called Fireproof is the name of the book. Fireproofperformance.com is where people could sign up for our newsletter and get information and some free downloads and white papers. And we're having a ton of fun doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like you guys are just like moving into new things every day.
We are.
So you said something that interests me there is you said you run it like a business rather than like a typical law firm. As someone I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of knowledge in this area. What do you mean? What is those differences that you really have to focus on in doing that with?
Most people I find, most entrepreneurs run their businesses like a dental practice or a medical practice or a law firm. They don't run it like a business. They don't have a organizational chart. They don't have core values. They don't know their data and their numbers like they should. They don't have processes and systems set up for every aspect of their business, even though it is a business. So lawyers I know don't consider their law firms businesses, and usually dentists and doctors and architects, they're skilled tradesmen usually, and they love what they do, but they're so busy working in their business, they don't take the time to work on their business, and therefore they are stuck not growing, not scaling, not being as happy as they could, not making as much money as they could, usually doing lots of things in their businesses that they shouldn't be doing, and on and on.
Interesting. Do you have like a reason why that is that just like the mindset of those practices, or do you have like a theory?
I think it's a mindset of most business owners that they are really good, whether it be making cookies and being a cookie business or a lawyer or whatever it is. They do too much. They don't stop and slow down and say, hey, this is a business. We should be understanding business concepts. And the law firms that we go into to coach show just that. They're great lawyers. They are great at their craft. They are great at what they do, but they suck at running a business. And that's why they're usually unhappy or not making as much money as they should be, or not growing. And once they understand the basic concepts of running a business, things change.
Interesting. So do you have like a certain point when you should like probably start switching into that? Because I know in the beginning for a while there, you do have to be that person, right? Like you kind of have to take on everything, and it is a struggle. But then when is that switch to?
That's a good question. And it's different for everybody. I wish I had, 60 days, 2 years. For me, it was 14 years. And I realized that I needed help. The first step is realizing you need help. And I know it sounds like I'm talking about, an addiction, but I'm not. I realized I needed help because I wanted to help more people. I wanted to grow. I didn't want to work 80-hour weeks forever. So I hired a coach, a business coach who knew nothing about law firms, but he knew about business.
Mhm.
And I read a bunch of books that he recommended and his books, and it just clicked for me. And so for me, it was like I had to make that decision. Okay, now I'm going to treat my law firm like a business, but fill in the blank. Well, whoever's listening to this, whatever your business is, I'm going to turn my whatever furniture store business into a true business,
Mhm.
and really take it seriously and know every dollar, where it's coming from, where it's going, how much I have in the bank. Really set up good hiring processes, and write everything down that you're doing in your business. And as you start to do these types of things, you start to get some gaps in your schedule where you can start focusing and brainstorming on other things and how to grow. You start to delegate things you shouldn't be doing. You start to hire people who are in line with your vision and core values of your company. And the companies that we work with that I see doing this are jumping leaps and bounds ahead of their competitors.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Based off that, like you said, you start to see like gaps in your schedules. Like what kind of organization and skills do you teach to those people that you start coaching on scheduling? Like I feel like that's a skill in itself in a
Yeah.
way.
Well, there's a lot there, right? So I mean, we take people through delegation exercises first and foremost, and figure out what they shouldn't be doing in their business and what they should be doing. The ideal goal for any entrepreneur should be to work on things that you're great at and you love to do, right?
Mhm.
We call that your sweet spot. So that's a goal. Most young entrepreneurs aren't going to be there for years and years and years because they're doing everything in their business. But you should, I mean, I don't know how anybody would say that's not a good goal to have, right? Work on
Yeah.
just things you love to do and are great at. So you got to figure out what you shouldn't be doing. You got
Mhm.
to try to figure out how to delegate those things. And whether it be hiring people or outsourcing or finding people in our country or other countries to do certain of those things. So it will free up the entrepreneur's brain to do other things. Once they start finding those other things, getting better at saying no to things, that's when the gaps come in on their schedule. And that's when they can focus on what they want to focus on. Some people, it might be spending more time with their kids, taking up a new sport or a hobby, or working on their business in a different way, in a different fashion. All those things that the entrepreneurs want to get to but don't have time to get to, I'm suggesting they need to get to them. So they
Yeah.
either need to delegate away, hire people, say no to things, and that's when I see businesses start to take off.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's funny is the common one I hear is say no to things. And I totally hear that because I am awful at saying no to things. But do you find that's like the biggest problem in all your clients that you see is they just like can't say no?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people pleasers out there, and there's a lot of people who just want to please and say yes, yes, yes. And so now, if you just even hear this concept and you think about it, practice it. Somebody's going to invite you to a meeting or a dinner or a seminar or be a sponsor or something or whatever it is, and practice saying no. See how that feels.
Yeah.
And it's worked for me. And again, I only, when I say yes to an invitation, I fully show up. I'm usually fully excited about it. I'm prepared. I'm on time, and it's not a chore. I very rarely look at my schedule and dread something. Very rarely.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good point, because I know that a lot of like times when you do commit to things, people don't realize how much of your energy, like mental energy, even if there was only an hour and it really didn't throw that much into your day, you could mentally spend like, 4 of your next hours on that one task that you just made yourself go do, right?
Of course. So entrepreneurs should take on less than more. I mean, just as a general rule,
Yeah.
because they got to have time to come up with those ideas. They got to come out with time to market and advertise and have a vision for their company. Or usually entrepreneurs have many companies, and they need to figure out the art of saying no.
The art of saying no. That's interesting. So when you say like they need to market and advertise, a lot of people like hire for that, but they need to be kind of the forefront of that, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, usually entrepreneurs and visionaries want to be in that. We have a good chapter on that in the book Fireproof that we wrote, and our concepts and our thoughts on all of that, and to be creative and to stand out and make sure that your advertising is memorable and different. And yeah, most entrepreneurs, and that's not something you want to fully, in my view, it's not something you want to fully delegate, unless depends on the type of business, I guess. But if it's any type of personal business or any type of, where your face is on it and it's not just Facebook marketing or whatever, I guess if it's just straight product Facebook marketing, you don't need to be there every step of the way. But most visionaries and entrepreneurs I know like to have their hands in that.
Interesting. So what do you have in that, like switching into marketing and advertising? Like what kind of things have you found in that field and general area that you have perfected?
Yeah. So, for any of your listeners who want to see my national award-winning commercials, they can go to the Mike Morse Law Firm under YouTube, and maybe you could put that in a show note. But the Mike Morse Law Firm under YouTube, you'll find our channel. Please subscribe. You'll see hundreds of commercials, lots of them we've won awards for, that are completely different than any other legal ad you'll see in this country. There's commercials and videos there about our backpack giveaway, how we connect with our community here in Michigan by giving out free backpacks, over 200,000 to date. That's a big thing we do. It's different than most firms and businesses like us. Our content on social media across the board is different. We like to say it's the Cherry Garcia versus vanilla commercials that are in my industry. Yeah. And so you'll let me know what you think of those if you watch them. And they are great. We stand out. It makes us what we call fireproof, meaning anything could happen, but our ads are going to stand out and we're going to be okay. And so far that's been true.
Yeah. And I think a big thing is like doing all those different things, people think about you more, right? Like when someone thinks, wow, I have a law problem, they immediately think of your firm versus any other firm, just because you are in so many different areas.
Absolutely. And that's the idea, right? You want to be everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you have like, I know that there's like different law firms, and we have like a catchy one in where I'm from in Colorado, and it's like the strong arm, so I just know from like that. Do you have like a slogan? Do you have like an advice on how to create a slogan like that?
I mean, yeah. And in my book, Fireproof, we actually talk about the exercise. So like for us, we're in a market where most of the ads are terrible and they suck and they're bullies or they're terrible, same old ads. So we want to do the opposite. Yeah. So most of my competitors come off as jerks or greedy or whatever, but I'm a nice guy. I'm a funny guy. I'm a caring guy. I'm a giving guy. So we came up with ads that showcase that. Our slogan we built around my phone number, which is 855 Mike Wins. It's a personal brand. So I'm in all the commercials. I'm in all the social media, and it's very personal. I have my mom in my commercials with me. We're not like pounding the pavement, asking for the sale. We are making them funny, self-deprecating at sometimes, things that most people don't say. and it's really working. And so we're doing very, very well. And since I wrote my book, the guy who helped me come up with my marketing and branding, he's now in 7 different states, helping other businesses grow their businesses, because once somebody sees my ads, they're like, yeah, I need those in my market. And not the Mike Wins one, but a good advertising agency is going to sit down, understand the brand, understand the person, understand if it's a brand that should have a spokesperson, figuring out what the ad should say, and what will resonate, maybe do focus groups. There's so many things to do to come up with a brand, but I don't have a formula for it other than really thinking, researching, having good creative people with you, and not just coming up with something willy-nilly.
Yeah, like having a team for sure.
Having a team for sure, yeah.
Awesome. That's super smart. I think when it comes to, I think people forget that even though you have your value and you want to stick with that, like you can also bring other people on board with that. And that's where it gets hard, is like making sure other people understand what values you have and trying to build a team at the same time. So do you have, like, when you're coaching people and you're kind of running these huge, because you said you're getting into coaching other companies on how to build and things, like, do you see anything like that really stands out that most people just skip over, or that like you just see every time constantly?
So most businesses don't know their numbers as well as they should. They don't understand their data. They don't know how good or bad the business is doing, where they're getting their leads, where they're getting their calls, where they're getting their business from. And I see that very, very often. That's, I think that's the number one thing that people, I say, okay, well, let me see all your data and all your numbers and sales and leads from 2021. I go, oh, we don't have that. Well, what's your average sale? What's your average case? What's your average? Oh, I don't know. Well, how long does it take to blah, 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 blah? I don't know. Well, which ads on the internet are working and not working? I don't know. Those are the types of things I'm talking about. Like, you should know, if you're spending $1 on advertising marketing, you should know if it's working or not working. Yeah. And then, I mean, how else can you make decisions? I don't care what your budget is. And I find that most people just, either bury their head, they think somebody else is watching that for them. But I think the owner, the visionary, the entrepreneur needs to know those things.
Yeah. How much like time does it take? I mean, like if you've been doing it from the get-go, I'm sure it takes, like an hour or 2 every day that you kind of look at all your numbers, but does it take like a good, just week to get back on track? If someone were going to be like, okay, I'm watching my numbers now, where do they start? And like, how much time do they need to set aside?
So usually that's a delegated task, depending on the business, but you need to, we call it in our world, in the fireproof world, we call it a jumbotron for lots of different reasons. But a jumbotron, if you just think of a sporting event, has all the numbers. You know exactly how you're going to win the game, how many points you need, how much time's on the clock, what players should be on the field, how many, all that stuff. And so we think, you think about your business the same way. What number should you be looking at all the time? What number should you be looking at daily? Now, I look at numbers because I've got it so dialed in. They're on 1 piece of paper, 2 pieces of paper. It's 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And then once a week, I sit down with my leadership team and I look at them for a little bit longer. But if it's dialed in, it's a glance. It's okay, 5 o'clock today. How many calls did I get? How many sales did I make? How many cases did I sign up? How much money came in the door? It's a glance.
Yeah.
It's a 20 seconds. So it doesn't take that long once everything's gathered. And then you say, these are the numbers I want to look at every week. And you have your CPA, your office manager, your whoever, fill them in for you.
Yeah.
On whatever cadence you need or want. Every business is different. Some need to look at it daily. Some need to look at it weekly. Some need to look at it monthly. Probably shouldn't look at it any longer than monthly. I prefer weekly at the minimum, and you'll start to see trends, and you'll start to see if that fire alarm's going off. If you're used to getting 100 calls a day or a week, and all of a sudden it's down to 40. Well, don't wait 2 years to realize that.
Yeah.
Figure it out in a week. Say, well, what the hell's going on?
Mhm.
And fix it. You
Yeah.
know, pretend like before, have that alarm go off before it's a 4-alarm fire, when it's just a little smoky fire.
Yeah.
And that's what, it's another concept from the book Fireproof, but it's, if you're looking at your stuff every day, every week, you're going to be alerted to the problems. It's a fire. Just think of a fire detector like an early warning detection system.
Okay. Yeah. So that's actually really smart. So if I were, let's say, like just kind of drowning in my business right now, how crucial would it be that you just like stop everything else, take a second to organize your numbers, and then like move forward from there? And like, how would you recommend someone do that when they are that stressed out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, listen, if you're that stressed out, we call it hitting the ceiling. You can't break through. You can't get to the next level. You must figure out a way. Now, if you're not making any money and you're just spinning your wheels, working 80 hours a week, but not making any money, and you're in that startup mode, there's really no time at that point.
Okay.
You have to, either it's the right business or not the right business. If it's not the right business, you got to cut bait, move on. If it is the right business, you got to figure out a way to start delegating and paying for help, because I don't know many businesses who get out of, look, there's certain breakout stories, of course, we've all heard of them, but for most businesses, doing the same thing day in, day out and not seeing any improvement, to me, that's the definition of insanity, and I think it is. And so you need to figure out a way to delegate and get out of your way so you can run it like a business and take it to the next level. And I know that there's a lot of people listening who would say, well, that's easy for you to say, you have money now. Yeah, I didn't always have money. But not every business is smart. Not every business works. Not every business is run the right way. So if somebody's doing the same thing week after week, month after month, and it's not getting better and you don't have time to step back, then probably not in the right business.
Yeah. Or you need to take it from the beginning again. Yeah. Start over or something.
But
Different way.
It's easier said than done in that situation.
Yeah. That's super interesting. And like you said, you've done this. So now you're coaching people on it, on how to do it, so this is definitely something you've had to experience and go through.
Absolutely.
So so would you say the more predictable you have your numbers, like the more you can profit from these things? And so just like anybody starting out right now, they should just lay out their data and stuff. And that's where you would come in, is they could hire a coach to just get these systems down.
They absolutely could. And there's a million coaches out there. I'm not saying that I don't have that much time to take on that many new businesses.
Yeah.
But they should find a coach or sign up for our master class.
Yeah.
And their coach or their CPA could help, or their CFO could help, or if it's just a mom and pop, they need to know every number that's important to their business, and they need to track it every week. It's that simple. It's not simple. It's hard to get started, but once you get started, you're obsessed with your numbers. And if I called that person, or that person called me, I'd start at peppering them the questions like I shared a little while ago, like, what's your average sale? How long does it take to get that sale? Where do you get those sales from? What's the average profit margin? And if you could, any business, you could ask those types of questions too. And the person better know, what was your revenue for 2021? What was your percentage of revenue that you got to take home at the end of 2021? If they can't answer these questions, then they don't know their business.
Yeah. And then I'm sure it gets because it's just like if you do a diet or something and, you want to see the progress of those things. If you're not, you get addicted to those numbers, seeing the progress of your business. I'm sure that when you're first starting and you're not even tracking your own progress, it gets a little monotonous and hard to keep going if you're not really seeing any real effort being rewarded,
I would agree. They are addictive, and any business owner who starts tracking, and every time we've shown people numbers, if we've prepared their jumbotrons for us and they see them for the first time, they're blown away, shocked, excited. Why have I waited this long to look at my numbers? So many business owners just know they got money in the bank, So they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's literally the only thought process. And I was the same way 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And so I know how wrong it is.
Yeah. And the fact that it took 15 years to get where you're at, I think it's probably super rewarding to see these people's faces after, like 5 years into their business. And you're like, I just saved you so much time.
Super rewarding. And you're 100% right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, super cool, especially when you teach people, like you said, you see that click. So that's super cool. I think just going off like on a different tangent or anything, is there anything that like you can notably say out of the last like 15 years of business that is just like your most favorite experience doing this all, like whether it be coaching or just law, where it clicked for you, like as in, man, I love this stuff.
Yeah. I think every time my CFO or my COO brings me a new concept, a new Jumbotron sheet, a new way to get better, or asking a question where data could help me answer. So many business people are making decisions all day without data, without backup, without information. So for me, it's about getting that information, making good decisions, making smart decisions with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's always exciting to me. Writing a best-selling book was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So that was great. Lecturing around the country is great. And sharing ideas that the book has, and continuing to hone my craft is all these things. I mean, this is why I do it. I just to master my craft and have fun. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I wake up every day, and it's a thrill.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then like just thinking of that, like people wake up every day for this business that they've created. Is there ever a point where you were like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Like this is hard. And like what would you recommend to those people that are just like hitting that real, crossroads?
Yeah. Well, I mean, evaluating a business to see if it's going to make it or not, right? I mean, that's a tough decision.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but I think if they knew their numbers, they could look at it and say, we're not going up. We don't have the money to advertise. Nothing really here is going to improve. We're
Mhm.
making no money. We're killing ourselves. Should we close it down?
Yeah.
That's a hard decision. But being an entrepreneur and being a business person is all about making hard decisions and smart decisions. So, I mean, I don't know what decisions you're specifically asking me for, but I know that making those decisions sometimes can be hard, and they need to surround themselves with good people. One of the things that we talk about is setting up a leadership team, so you have smart people at the table to help you make these decisions.
Yeah.
So if I was at a struggling business, I'd say you gather your business people who work with you, or you get an outside board together who are your friends and family, or smart people, mentors, and talk about it. I mean,
Mhm.
I rarely do it alone. I have my team with me, and everybody has a team. It could be their mother, their sister, their cousin, their brother, but smart people. And this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? And brainstorm. And I've seen very good things happen when that happens.
When that happens. Yeah. That's interesting. That made me think of something. What you said there was like watching your numbers and knowing when to kind of get out of something. So I know that a lot of people have like a certain mindset of like going down with the ship, in a sense of, I'm gonna stick it out till it's dead. What is your advice on that, as far as like, how to mentally either get past that, or, do what you want to do?
Yeah. I mean, going down with the ship and wait until the thing fizzles out. I mean, does that sound smart to you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a smart move. And I would, every business is different and everybody's got different reasons, but I mean, I never really seen that work out. And
Yeah.
so I would encourage people to make quick decisions. It's like we say, hire slow, fire fast, right? We have little isms like that you got to think about. And if a business is failing and you're tracking your numbers and this is your numbers, I mean, are you gonna why wait till it gets all the way down? Why don't you make that tough decision, pick a new business, and watch it take off again?
Yeah, yeah. And even if you feel like you're letting people down in some sense, you're really not helping them if you're letting it go worse, you know?
I wouldn't think so. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I know that's a big one though, because I feel like have a little bit of, just like personal value of like, oh man, I got to see this thing through because, I went all the way with it. So I think that would be really hard, just like, business, hard decisions.
Agree.
Awesome. So is there anything that like you can, I guess, leave our audience today that you would just say out of your 15 years of creating your own business, coaching, everything, just to like kind of keep them going or give them good advice?
Yeah. So my best advice for any entrepreneur is to be relentless, focus on learning, focus on something or some things, not everything. I've been a lawyer 30 years, growing a practice for over 30 years now, and I'm still reading. I'm still going to seminars every month or two. I'm in mastermind groups where I surround myself with smarter people than me. I ask a ton of questions. I'm listening to podcasts. That's why I give back to podcasts and webinars. I read tons of books and trade journals and other people's trade journals. And that's just my wiring. And if your wiring is not like that, then you're not a true entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe your skills are better off being a COO and being a really good manager of an entrepreneur's company. But so it's in chapter 1 in my book is know thyself, know yourself. And we list out who you are and what you should be best be doing. And quite frankly, that's my best advice is know who you are, know that you're playing the right role. If it doesn't feel right and you really don't like what you do and you're not loving what you do every day and you're not great at it, but at whatever point in time, it's probably the wrong business for you to be in.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big thing people skip over. It's just like they feel like they have to do something and they miss the self-reflection phase. So that's super awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving back to us today and being on my podcast. Do you want to really quickly just link out all your stuff again? It'll also be in the show notes. I'll put your YouTube and everything, but just as a little chunk.
Yeah. I'd love your people to follow me on my Instagram and Facebook. It's at 855 Mike Wins. We have a pretty robust website at just 855 Mike Wins. Fireproof book is available on Amazon. Fireproofperformance.com is where they can sign up for my free newsletter and get information about our masterclass. We have a YouTube channel, and that's my shout out.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, just tons of involvement. So that was awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you guys got a ton of information from this. I think watching your numbers is something so crucial, and that even if you're a business like learning right now, just to take a pause and just lay those out for a minute would be great advice. So thank you so much for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email us at info@thelocalcrown.com. And if you want to get featured in our publication Inside the Empire, alongside John Lee Dumas, the entrepreneur on fire, Jason Waller, the CEO of Power Home Solar, Sharon Lecter, Dan Caldwell, the man that started Tap Out, and the limitless man himself, Jim Quick, for free, then head over to thelocalcrown.com/become a contributor.